Hello, everybody. Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Jim Donnan, the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach, who's going to give us his insight into the Georgia Tech game, a game he is very, very familiar with. He coached in a bunch of them, and he's the mentor to the current Georgia head coach and the current Georgia offensive coordinator. These are guys that he knows really well. He brought them in, brought them up, taught them everything they know. And so we're going to pepper coach with some questions about the Georgia Tech game. But first, we need to look back at the Charlotte contest. We won't spend too much time on it, but Coach, I kind of want to get your thoughts going back to last week. We saw some new faces out there. Some guys got some reps that, I won't say we haven't seen them all year, but we haven't seen them in that quantity. And I could talk about some of the new starters, but I really want to go to the quarterbacks, mainly because you're a quarterback guru. I've seen people in the NFL call you, ask you your thoughts. Head coaches in the NFL call you and ask you about your thoughts on quarterbacks. Gunner was Gunner Stockton, but give me your thoughts on Ryan Puglisi and Ryan Montgomery, mainly because there's the whole thought of Jared Curtis is coming in. Maybe he comes, maybe he doesn't. But what does Georgia have after Gunner Stockton? And I'm assuming he plays here next year, maybe goes pro. We don't know. But you're the guy that always tells us keep an eye on this guy, keep an eye on that guy. And we got to see the quarterbacks in action this past weekend. Just going to get your overall thoughts on those two guys before we move on to some other stuff.
Well, most of my analysis of both of these young men is based on watching them in scrimmages and watching them in practice because everything was pretty controlled last week. We really didn't get to see them cut them loose as far as doing some of the things that they'll be doing if they're the quarterback here. But there's no question that Ryan's got the big arm and has a really good knowledge of the system, but we haven't been able to see him use that because we're just kind of running some base stuff at the end of games and we had a couple of drops last week, but he does have a quick delivery, a smooth ball that he throws, very good rotation, good velocity, and certainly the other young man coming off that knee surgery kind of got everybody by surprise how quickly he grasped the offense and definitely has a good future. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody can say with Jared coming in, but I'm not really that concerned about Jared at this point because, his whole career he's been talking about coming to Georgia, and down at the end there's always going to be some angst involved. But, it's hard for me to be a parent or a coach of a young man where the coach that you're talking about going is interviewing at other places like Lee is. So I don't know if Lee's going to stay there or what, but I'm sure they're putting a lot of stuff on Curtis. But definitely would be an intriguing spring practice with him competing for the job with these other two and Gunner because he's a generational talent. I mean, Jared Curtis, without question, has one of the best arms I've seen in high school, and he's very athletic. When you see Matt Stafford on playing for the Rams, that's what you got in this kid, the same kind of body makeup, same kind of velocity and arm actions. So we got a good future here at quarterback.
I would like your definition of quick release. We always hear about these kids saying that so and so's got a quick release, and so and so takes too long at his wind up. And I know I don't have a whiteboard for you or film, but for the folks who are just listening to this driving down the road, we throw stuff out there. Some of these terms kind of give us because you mentioned during the watch along show with Ryan Puglisi, you're like, oh, that's a quick release and that's beautiful. And I would like you to kind of explain it to us like we're 4-year-olds.
Well, whether you're 4 or 40 or 80, there's one drill that'll really tell you about it. It's called ready to throw, and you say ready, 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 and then throw, and we see who gets rid of the ball quicker and gets it to the guy 10, 15 yards down the field. And that just shows that the quirks in their delivery are really not that much of a situation. Is how quick you could get the ball there. So that's the way I always looked at it. So if you could just envision if somebody's not seeing me here and just listening, that you got two guys standing about 5 yards apart horizontally, and the coach is getting them in a position and they're bouncing the ball up, ready, ready, ready. And then you say throw. You don't blow a whistle or anything, just say throw. And then they've got to get the ball out and see how quick it gets to the person that's catching it. And that pretty much shows you who's got the best delivery and the ball flight too. I mean, certainly the velocity is going to help you, but if a guy really has to wind up to get rid of it from here, we want him in a position where he's already in a position to throw and then let it go. And that's been an age-old thing that I've used for 50 years to see. And it really is kind of enlightening to the player himself that thinks he's got this quick delivery, and this guy that's winding up a little bit is doing the same thing, but he's getting it there quicker. So it's result-oriented drill, and but as you get closer and closer to better competition, the windows close where people can throw the ball. So the
Right.
longer you hold it, the more the defense is going to, like the other night when Gunner got that interception in both games. He waited, and both interceptions occurred down the field because he waited a little bit long, and then the defense reacted from inside out to get it. So I just believe that sometimes people over critique quarterbacks. A couple of things I want to see is he got that it factor. Can you get the team on your back? Does the team believe in you? Do you know the system? Do you have the coaches' total belief in you along with the players? And sometimes the bigger, stronger guy isn't the guy like Stetson was, tremendous athlete, but, he just didn't have some of the height and things that maybe Monken wanted. But I just saw him from day one and saw what he could do and way he could make defenses. And then you see the same thing with Gunner. And then to a certain extent, you haven't seen that with Ryan because I haven't seen him as much, but he's had a great high school career and got really good velocity. I mean, just the way he can propel the ball down the field and throw the deep ball. I know that's going to be something we're going to be looking at down the road too with him.
I'm a big proponent of Ryan. When Puglisi, we saw him, all the tape on him was just exactly what you're looking for. Showed up as a freshman, looked like he should be in the NFL, just from a body style standpoint. And I know a lot of people kind of I don't say dismiss him, but you just don't think about him a whole lot. And I'm like, there's a guy who, when Dylan Raiola was committed to Georgia, the number one quarterback commit, a prospect in the country at the time, everyone kept expecting Puglisi to, bow out, go somewhere else. He's like, no, I'm mistaken. I'm going to fight at Georgia. He's come here. He's fought for a couple of years. And if
Right.
Jared Curtis gets here, he's going to fight that. He's going to fight Gunner. If Gunner sticks around and doesn't go pro, he's going to fight Gunner. So the kids
Yeah,
are.
that's a good point by you. And I believe this very wholeheartedly as a coach. I mean, some of the hardest things I've ever had to do is bench a starter for an incoming new guy. That's hard to do in any position, but particularly in quarterback. I mean, I started a freshman quarterback several times over a guy, mainly because he was not only the best guy for the position, but the best guy for our offense. So, and that's hard because you've invested so much time and developed the energy level that your team already has, and then you sold them on this guy. Now you bring a guy in, but you got to look at who can beat the best teams you got to play, and that's the way you look at all these positions. So, and as much as I like Gunner and like everything about him, there's always going to be somebody that's going to challenge you. I don't care who it is, and he likes that. And he relishes the challenge. I mean, he knew there was a chance that maybe that kid that went to Indiana might come in here, but he knew what he knew about our system, and he certainly paid dividends for our team. And I'm glad he stuck around because there's some teams trying to get Gunner in the offseason last year, and there'll be some people I'm just telling you, all these guys are open prey. I mean, they'll be going after all these. I mean, every kid's getting some kind of offer because these teams want to win now. So hopefully we can keep our roster intact. But like I told you last week, I mean, there's going to be 15 or 20 guys leave our team just because they want to play.
Yeah, and that's what we this past Saturday, a lot of guys got into the game, and the knee-jerk reaction say, oh, they got in. The coaches are trying to keep them from transferring. Well, maybe that's true, but also this was a game where the guys who've put in all that effort, put in all that work, they got their chance to shine. They got their chance to go out and get some playing time. The coaches can see what they can do. Who do you fight for? Who do you not? But I think you make a great point that we all just assume that, oh yeah, Dontrell Glover will be here next year. Juan Gaston will be here next year. Gunnar Stockton, go down the list of wide receivers, defensive backs, linebackers. But I thought Damon Wilson was going to step right in to take over for Chaz Chambliss, but Damon Wilson all of a sudden goes somewhere else. So yeah, you're going to have to fight. Georgia is going to have a fight on its hands to keep all of its star players, plus the guys they've developed. Some of them will go for playing time. Some of them will go for more money. And I'm not trying to have a downer. I'm just saying you can't assume.
Reality. I mean,
yeah,
January is going to be like Wild Wild West. I mean, it's going to be. We had 2 portal situations before. Now we got 1, and it's going to be incredible how many people around the country are going to change positions and go different places, and your roster will be a lot better from this standpoint. At least you'll know in the spring what your roster is going to be. Yeah. In the past, you had to wait to see what they did after spring practice, and the only difference is a graduate could still leave after spring practice, a graduate student, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun too, because you're going to see some wheeling and dealing, and it'll give us something to talk about and keep all our fans interested as we try to keep them up to date with what's going on. But you can't really get mad at these kids for changing, going somewhere, because the opportunity to play is what you're looking for. I mean, you want to be developed and all that, but who wants to sit on the bench when you can play somewhere else? I mean, I can't take that away from anybody, but I'd like for them to stay at least 2 years and see. Now you can maybe play 2 years in the winning program, but it's just hard to tell a kid that, hey, look, we're not going to play you right now, because, I mean, you have to tell them that. Right now, look at the tape. We got better guys playing ahead of you.
The other side of the coin, though, Roddy, is Georgia will also take from the portal. Zachariah Branch is a guy that could have still been at USC for all the same reasons we're talking about that Damon Wilson could have been at Georgia. And Zachariah Branch is one of Georgia's best players now. They will get players in the portal that will be among their best players for next season.
Yeah, dude.
I've seen this. We're going to take at least 20 like that, because we got to replace these guys. And the trend is sure bring in freshmen, but if you want to stay on the level that Georgia is, you better get 4 or 5 Zachariah Branches at other positions. You got to get some safeties. I don't care what you got to do. Maybe go tell a pro to drop down to college or do something. You got to get some safeties in there to play Kirby's defense. And hopefully Kyron Jones is going to be playing again. And some of these guys like Dinkins are going to develop. But you saw the problems that we had this year without making the right decisions on our safeties that came in here. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but we didn't do very well on that transfer issue right there.
No, Dayne, you're 100% right. And that's what I was going to say. The flip side of Georgia losing some players is they're going to go out and get some. And you saw Noah Thomas is coming on big for it. What was it the other night? The first 3 touchdowns scored were by transfer wide receivers coming into the University of Georgia. Xavier McLeod, Josh Harris, 81 on defense. Knocking passes down the line of scrimmage, putting some games away. You need some edge rushers. And again, it's tough to find offensive and defensive linemen in the portal. There just doesn't seem to be that many, but there are definitely receivers and skill players out there. And I've said this all along about a Kirby Smart team. If everybody has to play by the same rules, he's going to come out with the best roster, because they do the best job with the roster assessment. You can miss on safeties, but they hit on wide receivers. I'm going to give him all the respect there. The only problem is sometimes you're not playing with the same pool of money, if you will.
You're saying play by the same rules, but we got the money. I mean, there's no problem there. But I do feel like, just listening to this show, that hopefully keep our viewers and listeners up to date. I mean, we are smart enough, and our personnel people and our analysts, they're looking at the best teams in the country too. They're not just looking at non-power teams and D1, Double A, and Division III. They're looking at really good players on really good teams that maybe aren't, competing for championships, or maybe playing, nothing against the ACC or the Big 12 or those conferences, but say, look, you want to come play at Georgia, get a chance to look at these pro teams, look at all the guys we got. You can practice against pros there and take a 1-year shot here and really get yourself ready. I mean, you'll be surprised at how many guys that we're in on down the road that are really good players at big time schools. And that's just not going out of school saying that. That's just the way we got to do things. It's just going to be like we do recruiting the best high school players. We're going after the best college players too.
Yeah, so this will be fun with the portal, and that's what I thought going back to last Saturday. You saw some guys who maybe that playing time keeps them in the portal, maybe or keeps them out of the portal. Maybe it doesn't. Some of them, they got some good tape to help them with the portal, and it's a good way to. I hate to say it this way, Coach, but you got some guys who maybe didn't pan out, and you let them play Saturday. They get some tape, and they can show it to other teams, and then you get that roster spot. I'm not saying you urge them to go, but
you owe them that. You owe them that.
Yeah.
You're the one that offered them, and you owe them to help them. And we've got several busts that are playing around the country that didn't turn out here. Bust is the wrong word, but doing well at other places, and you're happy for them because they're making some, enjoying playing and making some money, and that's good for them, and it's good for us. As you mentioned, you create another roster spot.
Well, and with Georgia's reputation of how it practices, that game tape is good. That practice tape may be better.
Yeah, I don't know how much access they have to that. The only way they can get that is if a player would get the film guy to make up a reel for him and then send it out, which that's a good point. You can hey, this is me going against these DBs, or this is me blocking these D linemen and all. That's good. That's a good idea.
Go back to Saturday, Coach. Is anybody – it's kind of a tough call for you in general. Anybody that stood out to you this past Saturday that surprised you?
Not surprised me, but every time I see number 10, I just go nuts as far as his potential. I mean, seriously, that guy has – I really have been impressed with the way Hartley has developed his technique. He was and really had not been a guy that had to block much. He was just a big guy that catch the ball and just run over people. But you got to have some technique against, and he really turned into a outstanding blocker to go with the fact that we haven't really seen his skill level catching the ball except a couple high jump balls. But the guy is going to be a nightmare for everybody. I mean, next year we'll have him and Delp. Delp will leave, but we'll have Lucky, and then we'll have Riddell, and we'll have Barbour back. I mean, same old stuff with our tight ends. And I just tell you, this guy is a combination of Washington and Bowers. I mean, he can play inside, outside. He's strong enough to block. And next grade player at Georgia. And then the other guy's Elijah Griffin. If you just watch some cut-ups of him attacking the line of scrimmage and destroying the guy in front of him, the quickness to get around people and to get in the backfield and just cause havoc. Those two guys right there, wow. Just wow me. They're just too – I can't say anything else about them except get the Pointer sisters going, man. They just excite the heck out of me.
We had breakfast, me and Coach did, Roddy, on Sunday, and just sitting there, and he'll go, man, Elias Williams. And that just kind of floats out into the ether. Like that, he's just stewing over like how good this guy can be. And like, we're sitting there, we were, you had like an egg dish, I had a waffle, and just Elias Williams.
Yeah, the thing about him,
you've had some tight ends, brother.
The thing about him though is his blocking surface is just so good to go along. And you notice some of those plays on the goal line, we got him in there now. And you got him side by side with Earthquake there, Juan Gaston. And then, those two guys both over 6'6", and just it's hard to get that kind of mass and that kind of angle on people. And I have a tendency sometimes to maybe be a little bit overzealous on it. But in this case right here, you can take anybody. You can pick them out and ask them to look at these two guys and say, which ones are the basketball players or which one are the football players, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. They're just you got three guys like that on your team, Elijah, him, and Juan and Griffin. And then you add Glover, who's just been spectacular. I mean, that recruiting class right there, and we can go on about some of the other players. I mean, Kelly and Deacons, and I mean, and the linebacker. I mean, what a class! I mean, this guys just can't miss.
I'm with you there. When you see Dontrell Glover and Juan Gaston manning the right side, and then all of a sudden Elias Williams lines up beside him in that Y, and you're like, oh, that's three true freshmen. And if you remember early on when we got to interview Todd Hartley, it was like first week of August, he said that his tight ends were really, they're out there trying to get in as many reps and bucking, trying to get in front of Mike Bobo and basically say, look, coach, we know how many wide receivers you have, because remember, Colby Young was still healthy, and you had this influx of talent at the wide receiver spot, and you knew that Georgia was loaded at wide receiver. And the idea of 12 personnel felt kind of far off. It's like, no, we got all these wide receivers. And of course, Todd's out there bucking for 13 personnel. And now every time I see 13 personnel, I'm like, hell yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. And,
Let's go for 14.
Yeah, I was just that you got to. That's where I was going. I'm like, right now, I'm like 14 personnel with Jaden Riddell. I mean, you can go max protect, you can run. The possibilities are endless, and it feels very old school. And that's what we might need this week, Coach.
Yeah, what I like about the two tight ends, though, is balances up your formation and makes the defense have to play a little more. They can't overload, and it also gives you that power look. But also, we got a myriad of ways to get these tight ends open out of the backfield, coming across and all that. And Mike's done a fantastic job of using the formations. But when your guys, when you can, this is another little just coaching thing here. I try not to do too much, but regular people are just two receivers, a tight end, and two backs. But if you can put regular people in and play the wide formations with them, a guy like Robert Edwards can now be a flanker, or James Cook can be a flanker. But you've got regular people in the game, and you don't have to substitute. It makes the defense have a little trouble. Now, contrarily, bring it up to 12 personnel, and you can get to where it looks like regular people, and you can line up one of those backs in the backfield, but also put a tight end back there with him.
Yeah.
And now it looks like you got regular people, but then you put them in motion. It's hard for the defense to play nickel and dime and all that stuff, because as soon as you do that, then that just increases your running probability, because they can't have that unblocked guy. And we saw that last week. As outmanned as Charlotte was, they just committed one of their safeties on every run. If they throw a play action pass, so what? But you saw some of their safeties tackling almost on the line of scrimmage, where were gargantuan holes, but you can't account for that guy. I mean, why is that guy coming up and 7 or 8 yards deep and running into the backfield? Well, usually you're going to make them pay for that. But they made some good plays just selling the ranch. What else can you do? I mean, You're not going to stop. You got those guys coming out there trying to block you and all on the perimeter. You better get some safeties down. And we'll see that this week. I watched the Pitt game, and I mean, they blitzed everybody. Tech blitzed everybody but the head coach the other night. They brought everybody, and Pitt picked it up for the most part.
Do y'all think Todd Hartley is showing footage of what Darnell Washington is doing with the Steelers these days?
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, too. I mean, we saw that a lot. They say he's north of 300 now, too. So, I mean, can you imagine the tight end at 300 pounds in the NFL? But one other shout out I would give, like Roddy says, was the other day, our right tackle saw a guy in a 4-eye and had the corner on the inside hip of the wide receiver, which is a pretty good example of the fact that they don't want to get outflanked, so they're probably going to bring the corner blitz. And they did that, and our guard blocked out on the 4-eye, and the tackle blocked the corner blitz, and Gunner just delivered the ball quickly out there to Thomas for a 10-yard gain. But usually you just kind of try to catch it and throw it and don't worry about the corner coming. But it was so vivid there to the tackle and the guard that they said, look, the corner is coming, so you take him and I'll take the tackle. So very good by our offensive line on that.
I love that. That's one of the things where when they talk about an offensive line gelling and having communication, and something like that happens in week 1 or week 2, and you're like, hey, this isn't a permanent feature. These guys, when they'll get their communication better. And Georgia struggled with 6 different offensive lines in 6 different games because of injuries. But now, once they started getting healthy, you start seeing the pass offs like that. Twists and stunts are picked up
Right.
better just because you got a better feel for it,
And speaking of that, I want to give my and everybody. We got a situation with Ernest Green's father's had some health issues, so everybody be praying for his recovery. And I know Ernest has had some issues too with injury, but I hope that everything works out good. But Ernest didn't play last week, but I think a combination of several things. But let's keep all of Bulldog Nation, keep Ernest's father in our thoughts and prayers.
Absolutely. We have Thanksgiving in 48 hours. The game will be on Friday. Let's talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, because when you have a situation like that, you find out what you're really thankful for. If you have your health, you should be very thankful. And I also want to mention, we're very thankful for a new sponsor at UGASports.com, our friends at Darden's Delights. And I appreciate that a lot of people are actually reaching out and buying pies from Darden's Delights. And on the screen there, I'm sorry for the people who are listening to this in a podcast, you're not getting to see a picture of little Miss Darden there. She's a sweetheart. A lot of the funds from Darden's Delights, the proceeds, actually go to folks with developmental disabilities like Miss Darden. So not only are you supporting a family of Georgia Bulldog graduates, Betsy, her husband, their other daughter, who's a freshman at UGA now, you're supporting folks like my nephew and people that in the developmental disabilities community through you're getting fantastic pies at Darden's Delights. Now, I want to tell you, if you're in the Atlanta area, Thanksgiving's on Thursday. If you want to get these pies now, they're open Tuesday and Wednesday from 9 to 5. You can swing by Darden's Delights and grab some. I had got a note from a friend on Twitter. I'm trying to see what he sent me there. He said, just placed a large order with Darden's Delights for holiday gifts for my work colleagues. I talked to David Glass, and he said that he was very excited to get the offer. So point being, this is a guy who's like, what do I get for my work colleagues? Get them all pies. And now's the time to do it. Go ahead and order it. You wouldn't do it before Thanksgiving, but Christmas is coming up. So the day that Georgia plays Georgia Tech is Black Friday, and we will have everybody be out shopping. You got to figure out what to get for your work colleagues. Get them pies. No, who's going to turn down a pie? You don't have to return some mug or something like that. Get them food. That's what people want.
Well, stock your own freezer and have yourself a gift for later, because last week, Roddy, man, we had just a gauntlet of a week. 3 kids all had stuff going on. They weren't feeling their best. Campus is getting a little crazy toward like holiday and finals time. We pulled out the cheeseburger pie from Darden's Delights and just like knocked out a quick dinner, because that's all we had time to figure out that night. Really grateful we had it, because, man, it tasted really, really good.
Yeah, and tell them when you do order, tell them that you heard about it on our show.
Yeah, exactly. Let them know that being a sponsor of UGA Sports is a big deal. All right, Coach, let's turn our attention to the Georgia Tech game. Last year, Georgia Tech throws for 300 yards, quarterback runs for 100 more, 8 overtimes, 14 different plays on which the game hinged. They could have gone one way or the other, according to Kirby Smart. Kirby says that game has no effect on this game. I think that's a lie. I shouldn't say a lie. I think that's glossing over the fact that it was a gut punch to Georgia Tech. And even though they don't have a good defense, they're going to be playing in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. And I don't say they want revenge for last year, but they came so close. Maybe they're a little extra motivated this year. Who knows? But give me your overall thoughts on Georgia Tech this year.
Well, the game doesn't have anything to do with this year, but it does from this standpoint, and the fact that in the off season, I'm sure we did some things to look at what we need to do to defend them better. And we've talked about it several times that going into the game, Haynes King had real issues with his shoulder, and that, they even held him out of some games. and played the kid from over here at Prince a couple of games. So our defense was really geared more towards stopping him running than it was passing. But he killed us throwing the ball, particularly on second and third down. I mean, just unbelievable the way they picked up and kept the possessions away from us. We had very limited possessions throughout the game. So I think that was a real key that Tech kept the ball away from us. This is a different Tech team this year in the fact that they hired a defensive coordinator from Texas, and they've changed their scheme. And it worked a little bit early in the year, but people have caught up with it, and now they're gashing them. I mean, NC State over 500 yards. Boston College, a really not great offensive teams, scored 36 points on them. And then last week, Pitt just came out after them like a real panther, like they are. Started out that game and 28-0. But it's a game where it's so many things can happen in it, just like any game. But I think our team will be a little bit more prepared for the pass this year. We're always prepared, but I think our strategy will be, he can run the ball some, but we got to stop the pass better than we did last year. I think it was like 18 out of 22 there early on us. So hopefully we get Kyron Jones back, maybe get although the linebackers played well, but maybe CJ will get back in there too.
I know you can't do a game plan this way because, as you said, they'll probably sell out to stop the run. But just watching these other teams run the ball on Georgia Tech and knowing the history of, I go back to watching Washaun Eagley run all over him, Isaiah Crowell. I mean, Lars Tate. It always feels like it is a ground game between these two, barring accidents, fumbles, interceptions, and such. And if ever I wanted Mike Bobo to run the damn ball, it's this week. I just want him to, with that running attack you have with that offensive line, I'm like, every time Mike Bobo throws it, I want Todd Hartley to reach over there and kick him in the shin, tell him to run it again.
It's hard not to throw it against their secondary, though. But I think you just call the game like you would any game, down and distance, and use some different shot plays. But you got to feel like Tech's going to sell the ranch on the run. I mean, they got too many issues holding up there, lighting the britches up front, and they get knocked around a little bit. So I think they'll probably run a lot of exotic schemes to try to confuse us and get a free runner on our with unblocked guy and maybe cause some bad plays and steal a possession. That's what I would do if I was trying to defend against us.
Well, that has potential to work in Georgia's favor too. Carson Beck threw 5 touchdowns against them last season in that game, and I know some of that was overtime as well. But I think Gunnar Stockton will have some downfield passes.
We just got that last year's game was, I mean, just different people playing, a lot of different things are happening, and but you definitely are concerned about their passing game, the way they hurt us. So they don't have the one kid that transferred to Auburn is out, but they still got a lot of different ways to hurt you. And King, just really ultimate competitor, finds a way to make first downs when it looks like they're not going to make it. And of course, Buster knows our system. I mean, he's here ins and out every meeting for 3 years and involved in running some plays on the scout team against our defense. So he knows how we call defenses. He knows all about it. So the only time Attila the Hun lost a battle was because of somebody that was in his own circle invited another guy to come over there and study their armaments and everything about them from one of his enemies. And he sent somebody from his group over to their enemy. And the guy figured out that they weren't real good at defending certain things. And they came in there and lost the battle because from within. So Buster knows how to get after us.
And that answer Lindsay Lastinger Terry's question. Coach, do you think Buster Faulkner, being the Tech offensive coordinator, makes it tougher for the UGA defensive staff to formulate a game plan to stop them, given Buster's familiarity with Georgia's defensive philosophy? So
I'm glad she asked the question. I saw her out at practice last week, and she was out there with her husband and her father, John. I told John last week we saw more clips of him against Texas than we did anybody. And so it's great that she's such a great supporter of ours and has questions. Yeah, I think I answered a little bit before you asked the question, but definitely he knows our calls, he knows our tendencies, and deep down, I'm sure Schumann's thinking, well, normally I would do this, but since it's Buster, I might do that. But you also can't get so caught up into trying to change that you take away from your core values. But I would just say that the number one thing for us is play the pass and get some pressure on the guy, and then make sure we got a spy on him where he can't hurt us. And then if he runs some on quarterback runs, so be it. But don't let him beat you throwing.
Coach, the last 3 weeks with Tech giving up the amount of points that they have, you'd mentioned Pitt and Boston College that lost to NC State. Is this Tech just not playing as well at this time of year, or is it that their schedule was easy to navigate and maybe they were punching above their weight a bit in the first, half, middle part of the season too?
Well, it looks like they avoided some of the better teams in the league. They didn't have to play Miami, and certainly Miami looks like they're right up there, and I don't think they played Virginia either. So, but the Wake Forest game, Wake had them beat, and they called the offsides on. If they would have called the offside penalty on Tech, the game was over because they were running the clock out. But the quarterback decided he's going to take a free play, so he threw the ball down there, and they said he wasn't offside, and the ball was incomplete, so the clock stopped, and then Tech got the ball back and was able to go down. But that's part of football. But I think they've definitely benefited from their schedule, no question. But you got to give them credit. When you win 9 games in today's college football and win like they have coming from behind, that's a great testimony to their players and coaches that they finding a way to win. And you can't – it's not your fault who you're playing. You just got to play the schedule they give you.
You mean the refs got something wrong in a Tech game, Coach?
Yeah, we're going to leave that stuff alone today.
I mean, it's Thanksgiving week, Roddy. Come on.
No, I'm just saying it's I know a lot of folks have said that Georgia got some lucky calls this year, but I'm like, in this game, again, I said it the other day, don't turn the ball over, don't have penalties, don't screw up on special teams. Avoid the upset that way. That don't have any of those recipes for an upset.
Yeah, and I think our team's really been good on. We talked about when we played Texas, avoiding the penalties, and Texas would get them, and they did. And we've been really good on turnovers too. I mean, but the other thing that Kirby relies on, and I believe that it's changed over the years, used to be win the turnover battle, but win the explosive play battle. If you can defend against a team making explosive plays, it's hard to go 80 yards, 70 yards against a team that's really built to stop the run like we are. And conversely, it's a lot easier for us, and we've seen it lately. We're making more explosive plays in the passing game, in the running game, the long runs we made against Mississippi State, the big plays that like that 35-yard play that we saw from Zachariah against Texas. Those just give you instant energy and give you field position. And we're hard to stop inside the 10 now, inside the 20. I mean, with the way we can throw the ball and pound it, what do you do to stop us? The only thing that stops us is a penalty or just a really poor block play to get you up behind the sticks. But I'm really, really feel good about our hammer and tong offense when it gets down to clutch time inside the 20.
That's a big compliment too, because I sat there and watched so many NFL teams struggle from inside the 5, inside the 7 last week.
Yeah, I mean, of course you got better competition up there and better defenses, but everything's condensed and it's harder to throw. But the fact that we can bring those guys underneath the formation and slip them out, but we have the advantage of the quarterback run on top of that. And most of the times in the pros, the quarterback's not going to run unless you got a guy like Allen or Jack, Lamar Jackson. But there's plenty of them that can run it. But I think the added dimension that we see that when we really need it, we got Gunner, and if he needs it, he'll put his head down or he'll dive or whatever it takes. He can make some first downs now.
Josh McCray, my boy. It's funny you say that about the explosives, and that's what Lincoln Riley was talking about the other week. Ryan Days mentioned it. Steve Sarkisian. that is I don't want to say the popular, but a lot of them are talking about how they would always talk about turnovers before, but now they talk about explosive plays. And that brings up this question here, Coach, from Jonathan Eason. Says, how are we feeling about our ability with the pass rush against Georgia Tech to affect Haynes King, i.e. stop some of those explosives?
I feel our pass rush is getting a little better all the time, particularly the fact that our inside pressure, we're seeing the quickness and the strength of Griffin and the fact that people are having to put two people on Kristen Miller. He doesn't really get in there, but a lot of people are worried about him. So, and then you had the other people on, like you mentioned, McLeod and some of these other guys, but that helps you on the outside too, because they can't really focus on chipping somebody or doing that. They got to worry about the inside vertical pressure. And most of their passes are more of the, fake. And then they do some RPOs, which that's hard to rush the passer on. But when they show a show pass, that means that they back up. I think we can get after them pretty good, but we got to cover them like we did Charlotte the other day. Just, we jumped all over Charlotte's guys, but certainly they'll have good receivers. But I think our coverage underneath's gotten better too.
Well, we have a lot of questions from the dog vent. I think we do, don't we, do?
Yes, we do.
All right. So let's hit a commercial real quick. I want to mention our friends over at Atlanta Dental Implants, a fantastic sponsor of our show. New sponsor of our show, just like Dards Delights. So if you eat too many Dards Delight and you wind up needing your teeth fixed because you're like me and you just eat pie all day, they can fix your teeth as fast as the same day. They custom design it. They fabricate it there. They don't have to outsource it. You don't have to keep, going back for weeks and months and stuff like that. They restore your ability to chew, you can immediately eat. So you're like, oh, well, if I get this work done, how long is it going to be before I can eat? You're fine. 5-year warranties on the different styles they have up there, the Dreamline or the Dreamline Plus. They have the prices right there on the site. You're going to go meet Dr. Skylar Holcomb, who, when I see the picture of him and his staff, he looks like he's about 7 feet tall, but maybe just has a short staff. I'm not sure, but he's a huge Georgia fan. I know he was going crazy for the Texas game. This guy is an absolutely huge Georgia guy, but he's really well respected because every time I mention it, we had a bunch of people in the dog vent when we introduced him as a new sponsor. They're like, oh, yeah, I send customers to him all the time. I send my patients, clients all the time. So very well known in the Atlanta area, top all-on-4 dental implant provider in Atlanta. So fantastic staff, great prices, financing available, quick in-house, quick turnaround with the in-house labs, and just going to give you a new smile. And look, if you have bad feet or bad teeth, you're going to die sooner. That's just the way it is. If your mobility's down, it's going to hurt you. If you can't eat right, it's going to hurt you. So this is an investment in your health. It's not an investment in vanity. It's about making sure that you can live a nice long life. And while you're living that nice long life, you want to drive around town, you need to do that in a new car or a pre-owned car from our friends at Athens Ford. This is the best time to go buy a car. Buy one from Athens Ford. They've got $8,000 off a 2025 Ford Explorer, $9,000 off a 2025 Ford Escape. I'm just showing those on our screen here. $10,000 off a Ford F-250 or F-350 Lariat. So if you're using one of those for the farm or using one as a work truck, again, they sell a lot of fleet vehicles, up to $10,000 off on those. $7,500 off a Ford Bronco. Number one best-selling car in America, the Ford F-150, up to $11,000 off MSRP or 0% financing for 60 months. So if you're like, hey, the interest rates are too high, I don't want to buy a car, you can get 0% financing for qualified buyers. So the point is, you see all these 2025s, they're discounting the hell out of them. Go get one now, get the lifetime powertrain warranty on it. Makes a nice Christmas gift. Some of these makes a nice tax write-off before the end of the year. So jump on one of those and then drive it to Darden's Delights or Atlanta Dental Implants.
Let's go to Hug Dog 18 with this question. It says, Coach, I pray that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving with your family. When you're watching the game this Friday, what in particular are you focusing on in the first quarter to give you a sense of where Georgia stands defensively versus Georgia Tech's offensive game plan?
That's a good question. But I mean, there's certain things you're always looking for, but how are we fitting on their formations? Because they give you so many different looks and they're trying to find, you got to figure they've got an idea because they've got all this time to practice on. So you have some tendencies, but hopefully we can fit their formations and not give them something just because we line up wrong. So getting lined up is number one. Number two is making sure he doesn't hurt you with his legs on a pass play. He's going to hurt you on some run plays, but contain him in the pass and get some people in his face and then break on the ball. Don't give up anything easy, but so I think that would be what I'd be looking for more than anything.
Can I add to that real quick? If you check out the watch along show with Coach Donnan, if you've not seen one of those before, usually in the first quarter he can tell you how this game's going to go. He'll say, "Oh, we got," or he'll say, "This is bad, boys. We got to make some adjustments here." And I'll
Just
be
like
damned.
the Auburn game, I really said we got them after it was 17-0. I said, "Yeah,
no, hey, things changed. I mean, they make adjustments, but you were pointing out exactly why they were so successful on the first 3-4 drives they had. You were mentioning where the gaps were, where the run fits were wrong.
Yeah, they scouted us good. They did that for sure.
They did.
Well, that's because Greg
Georgia adjusted. So,
Greg Sankey sends him the script of the game, and he gets to read it beforehand.
Yeah, but that's the point. So I think it's a fantastic question because I do the same thing. I turn to coach and go, "How the hell did you know that we weren't going to stop them on 3rd and 9?" And you're like, "The formation they were in, we didn't fit it right." I'm like, and so when I go back and look at it, it's obvious, but he sees it so fast. I'm like,
yeah, well, we'll see how it goes, but I'm definitely
just take the compliment.
The one thing I do know is how much pride Kirby and Schumann have, and in the off season, you look at some of the things we've done. We look at some new ways to run the ball, talk to some people with some different formation looks and different blocking schemes, and it's really helped our running game. And I feel like the same thing's true about studying tech, like Kirby did. The first year against Paul Johnson, didn't do that great. That's the only time he's lost to him. But the next year, when Roquan was a senior, he played that stacked defense and played Roquan stacked right over the middle linebacker behind another guy and just let him run in the alley and just absolutely squelched their offense. And I know that we're not going to do that 100%, but I do feel like he's a defensive mastermind and he'll have a good plan for him.
From Eddie from Ackworth, Coach, happy Thanksgiving to you and Roddy and Dane, of course, and thanks for being such a damn good dog. Does any of Kirby's preparation change slightly for this game with the chance that Georgia could be in the SEC championship game just next week? Or is it 100% of the focus on Georgia Tech and then you worry about the next thing later?
Well, I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. You've got a lot to be thankful for, particularly me this year, just that I got another chance to have one because I didn't know if I would about 6 months ago. But I think the biggest thing for Kirby was the fact that as soon as we finished that Charlotte game, he immediately turned Sunday into Monday. And if you'll just think about a condensed week, playing on Friday instead of Saturday, if you make Sunday Monday, then Thursday is Friday as far as the pregame, and then Friday is Saturday. So our whole planning has been yesterday was instead of Bloody Tuesday, it was Bloody Monday, and now today's Wednesday. You see what I'm saying? So we have our practices set. But as far as being ready for the SEC, we've got a myriad of guys, analysts and all. We got access to all the tape. I'm sure we've already played Alabama and Ole Miss, but I'm sure they're doing a breakdown on Texas A&M right now just to be ready because Sunday you got to roll. Saturday we would know because doesn't Texas A&M play Saturday, Friday night? So if they would lose, then we could start on them on Saturday on the fact that we wouldn't have to worry about Texas A&M. We'd go right into Bama. But if for some reason they win, then we would have to look at Alabama losing. So they would look at Texas A&M all day Saturday probably.
From Mayberry Dog, hey coach, if everything stays the same and Georgia doesn't play for the SEC championship, which I hope they do, and Georgia gets the first round bye, does being idle for 5 weeks concern you? Also, what does Kirby Smart do to keep them engaged in such a long off time? Happy Thanksgiving to you, Roddy, Dayne, and your families.
Well, I appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. So I think you're never going to worry about Kirby getting them engaged, because he'll look at that just like a bowl preparation from the standpoint. Let's get these younger guys, get them out there, train them, work them more in team drills and not just individual, because you're not getting ready for a game the first couple of weeks. So they'll finish up finals. They'll keep working hard on conditioning and weight training and nutrition and all that. Some of the injured guys can maybe, let up a little bit, but you work more on just recharging your batteries and getting fresh. But the time off hurts you a little bit as far as timing and all that, but they'll probably take it easy the first week and just do a little bit of stuff like you do in the summer with the kids. Will do 7-on-7. Coaches will be out recruiting, and but we'll be ready. We'll do. And the thing that people don't take into account, Ohio State's probably going to beat Michigan, and Indiana's going to beat Purdue. So Ohio State and Indiana are going to play next Saturday or Friday, depending on where Fox has them on. One of those teams is going to drop. You know what I mean? So if it's Indiana, then maybe, which I would like to happen, and let's say that we can move up ahead of them and maybe get to 3. I would like to be 2 or 3 where you're not in the same bracket with Ohio State. I mean, if you got to beat them, you got to beat them. But I'd rather beat them in a championship game. But Indiana could beat them. How far would Ohio State drop? Would they drop below us? Or I doubt it. But their strength of schedule is ridiculous compared to ours. So there's a lot of things can happen on that championship Saturday. That's for sure.
Georgia was number 1 on a championship Saturday, and they dropped to 6.
Oh yeah, a couple years ago. That's right.
I'm still salty about that because they're only the top 4 teams made it to the playoffs. So again, it won't happen. But I'm just saying it's if Indiana or whichever one loses, I doubt you see them drop past 4. So they won't do the same thing they did to Georgia. That was a one-off.
From KC,
I think you could see it with Indiana. I really do.
Yeah, Indiana. Yeah, 5 or 6 maybe. Yeah, especially with their strength of schedule, but. There's no way they drop Ohio State.
All we want to do is move to 3. Then Ohio State's 1. We'd play Texas A&M. If Texas A&M and Indiana lose, then we're going to have to play Alabama. But if Alabama loses, we'll have to play A&M.
From KCKD, if you were calling plays against Tech's defense this week, would you just try to win Gunner the Heisman and put in Puglisi after Gunner's 15th touchdown, or would you go for the throat and keep Gunner in to try to break Tech's 222-point margin of victory record?
Yeah, that Cumberland College or whoever it was, you need them on your schedule. But I don't think anybody looks at winning the Heisman until, the last game maybe. But there's certainly Gunner. It deserves a lot of attention, but you look at what's happened with this kid in Indiana and the way that the guy at Ohio State's playing. Whichever one of those guys has a really good game in that championship game is going to have the inside track on. And then Pavia, what he's doing, if he walks on water against Tennessee this week. But certainly, who you pick for SEC all conference? I mean, I think it's got to be between Gunner and Pavia myself.
I don't know. Ty Simpson's getting a lot of love too. So
he has, but he's folded lately now.
I know. I'm just saying they get stuck in their ways. But I do get an email every Monday about Julian Sayin for Heisman from the Ohio State folks. So
he's on fire. I mean, he's got tremendous percentage, and I didn't realize he could throw as good as he does. But he's throwing some really good guys. But they're playing against some New York-like defenses, though. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, when I say New York life, older people remember that thing on CBS on he's running for financial security. He's looking for hospital awareness. All those different things on the defense because he can't cover anything. And boy, that Big Ten defense is ridiculously bad. I mean, Iowa's pretty good, but we'll see.
We'll sneak in 5 more questions here, so we'll do this quickly. Bulldog guys question. For Roddy, what's going on with Josh McCray, and what is Bowen's injury?
Bowens is back. Kirby said he's back 100%. I think he had just a contusion or thigh bruise or something like that. And Josh McCray's healthy. It's just they don't. I mean, he played last week, so they're fine. I hope to see them both get the ball inside the 5. I know Coach hates to see a 1st and 10 from the 9, but if you're going to have a first down, and here's the thing: remember when Todd Monken was here? Who did he put in charge of his red zone offenses? Like some guy named Mike Bobo. So Mike's good side of the red zone, and we always say bring in McCray to kind of pound it in there. But when everybody knows that's what's coming, he rolls out and has a little tight end wrap, and Gunner walks to the end zone. So I'm with it.
Elvis Skinner asked, Coach, what's been the most impressive thing from Mike Bobo's game plans this year?
I would just say flexibility, adaptability, working around the injuries, using the personnel that we have. You want to get your best players in there and use them, and that's what we've done.
And then he asked, based on what we've seen so far, which team in the top 3 appears to be the worst matchup for Georgia? It sounds like you think that would be Ohio State.
Yeah, I think just based on – I don't think it's a bad matchup for us. I like us against them because we got some things that'll work, and it'll be a real challenge. But they got 3 of the best players in the country. I mean, when you look at the wide receiver, Smith, and then Downs, and then that linebacker, I mean, they got 3 of the best players in the country. Of course, we got some of them too.
Bulldog guys, Coach Donnan, who are the guys in the booth with Mike Bobo? I've always wondered who they are, and is there a young superstar coach on the GA staff that is thought very highly of at this point?
Well, they use Todd Hartley up there because he not only can help with the offense, but he's really involved with special teams, and he can talk down there to Kirk Benedict, who's a special teams coach, and they've got some other people, and then they got a myriad of assistants up there that are either graduate assistants or student assistants or analysts that are keeping the tendencies. And then the defensive coaches, I'm not sure who they have in the box, but they, talk down there to Schumann, but that's what they do. As far as young guys, Javier King is a really good special teams guy that's worked with very hard, and I think he's got a real great future. And then you got, I think, Warren Erickson, offensive line coach. It's helping with Coach Stacy Searles. I think he's one of the best young line coaches I've ever been around anywhere, and really got good awareness. And he's got Kirby's attention because he gets that scout team rolling, and he's a tremendous young coach. But I got to give y'all 1 or 2 jokes here, and then I got to get out of here. But I've been waiting all week to tell you this. This woman asked this man, said, we're getting ready to have a 25th anniversary. Where would you like to take me? He said, well, how about Paris? She said, that'd be great. That'd be really good. And just thinking ahead, where would we go on our 50th? He said, I'll come back and get you.
Yeah.
And then there was this hillbilly geology teacher up in North Georgia asking this kid, said, do you know what barium is? He said, that's what you do after you kill them.
No.
Barium. All right.
All right, folks. That's all. We have the Appalachian jokes and we have the marriage jokes. And we hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. Be sure to check out the Bulldogs as they play Georgia Tech. And clean old-fashioned hate is hate week. But we hope you do not have any hate around your family. Reserve all your hate for Friday when Georgia Tech takes the field. But please enjoy your Thanksgiving. And we are very thankful for all of you who have become members here. Coach the other day asked you to subscribe, and everyone did, and we hit 56,000 subscribers. So
that was good. I'm not going to put the pressure on you this week, but maybe next week, and we might be getting ready for the SEC championship next week. We're going to have somebody lose, but Vanderbilt didn't end up losing last week, and neither did Tennessee. So if Tennessee beats Vanderbilt, that helps Alabama's strength of schedule and vice versa. So we got to win on one of them losing.
there we go. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Y'all take care.